Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Friday night's edition of Paranormal Question of the Day. We'll be right back right after a short intro. And we are back. So I hope everybody's had a good Friday evening so far. It's not over yet, so if you haven't, well, the day's not over. So tonight we have Mr. Dennis Estlock with us tonight. Welcome, sir, to the Paranormal Question of the Day.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
So just waiting for people to get in chat here.
Hi, Lori.
And we got Lori. Now, Lori is one of my good friends. She is a curator, at the Washington County Historical Museum. Is the place that I do bookings for. Great place. So nice to see you pop on quick. Let's see. Anyhow, hope you're having a good Friday, Lori. So let's cut right into it. So who is Dennis Estlock?
Me? I thought we established that. Oh, you meant like. I guess that should have come with a disclaimer. I am a smartass.
Hey, that's all right. That's all right. Makes do for the show, right?
Yeah, exactly. So I'm the founder of Commonwealth Researchers of the Paranormal. I'm also a docent at the Cabin on 360. I'm also a team member for Haunted Nights Paranormal Events. I'm also the technical director for a couple of series that the Twisted Paranormal Society has put on. Hey, Jason, that's one of my team there.
Hey, Jason.
So I do technical director for the Twisted Realm series on Paraflix. We're just starting with a new series, and it's primarily Lyle and Brandon, Hometown Haunts. You'll probably catch me on there from time to time. So I kind of have my hands in a whole lot of things.
You're a busy guy.
So who am I? I'm usually the one running around going, "What the hell's going on?" That's how you'll find me most.
Right. I understand that. It's a lot of work putting in for a show and doing all that stuff and getting it ready. And I have not had the pleasures of doing that except for doing podcasting and stuff like that. And eventually, with our team, we'll start doing some kind of filming. But other than that,
it's definitely been eye-opening.
Yeah, I bet different angle shots, which way how it shoots things, and what works with your style, because there's so many different styles on how to shoot things.
And it's not just that aspect of it. It's, we all watch the shows on TV and so forth, and you get, on average, if you break it down, take out all the commercial time and everything else, you see about 27 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Having been part of a couple of different episodes, I know how much goes into it. And they usually run about 70 hours of filming just to get that 27 minutes that airs. And there's a ton of it that lands on the cutting room floor. Yeah, in the digital waste bin.
And sometimes it gets hard of what you cut and what you don't cut, because sometimes you get some really good stuff, but it's like maybe next episode I'll put something in there,
Yeah, it kind of depends on what the narrative of that show is. If you're trying to do, let's take a specific location and you want to focus on specific aspects of its history, and something totally out of the blue comes up, okay, does that get cut? Do you leave it in? It doesn't tie to anything that you're trying, none of the stories that you're trying to tell and portray from that location. So, yeah, it becomes what do you do with it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I find it hard sometimes when when I do something for YouTube. It's like a 20-minute video turns into a 3-hour editing process.
Yeah.
So,
and, any of us that do investigating know that if you run a location, you're there for 5 hours, you probably have anywhere from 2 to 4 or more voice recorders going. You know, you've got 10, 12, 15 hours of audio now to review.
Mhm.
And if you're rich, it's great because you can buy like DR60s that only record when something is done.
Mhm.
Most of them that have voice activated recording miss the EVP anyway. So now you're just running continuous.
Yeah, see, I have, I've tried that with my recorders, and I didn't like it so much, so I turned it off, and I catch more with it off.
Yeah. Yeah. Just, you know, and I've got some of the expensive recorders like the H4N Pro, what, $350 recorder. And
Mhm.
I'm just as happy with my little cheap $25 to $50 recorders that I pick up on eBay. Plus, I'm
Yeah.
not crying if one gets dropped, broken, or lost.
Well, yeah, I mean, I made a YouTube video about recorders. It's like, okay, yeah, you could have the nicest one, but what happens if that $50 recorder you get catches the EVP versus the one that you spent all your money on doesn't, or vice versa?
We actually did an experiment for that. I had half a dozen members of my team were at a Masonic Lodge here in Richmond, Virginia, and FPRI, Fredericksburg Paranormal Researchers and Investigators, was up in Fredericksburg recording. And I called John Sullivan, the founder there, and I told him, "Hey, listen, man, at 9 p.m. sharp, set recorders out, and I'm going to see if I can get a word from here to you.
Mhm.
And at 9:05 sharp, you do the same and try to transmit a word back to me." I set 5 recorders out on the table about 2 feet apart. I mean, I stretched them the length of the table. 3
Mhm.
recorders caught the same thing and 2 didn't. And
Yeah.
ironically, the 2 furthest recorders captured it, and 2 recorders that were mixed into the middle didn't. So it's just, okay, what was the
Placement.
variable?
Yeah, it's placement. It's it's interesting that you tried that. I mean, I have a task cam and I absolutely hate it.
Yeah. I've got one of the task cams also, like $180 or something, and it very seldom comes out of my case.
Well, yeah, because there's so much interference is what I noticed with it.
Yeah, the H4N's the same thing. Now the H4N is great if you want to do live and listen as it's happening because it'll pick up a cricket fart in the next room,
Mhm.
but it may not pick up spirit coming through in the white noise specter.
Right. See, I
So
use a Philips is what I use. It's a 3 microphone recorder,
okay.
and that works real well. I'm like, I've never caught so many EVPs in my life than once I made the switch to that, and it's like just a barely over $100 recorder, and it's like this thing is phenomenal. It's clear. Um, and well, some recorders aren't even clear.
Yeah, I don't remember the exact model number of it off the top of my head, but they're just little cheap Sonys. They're like $50.
Mhm.
And then, so I got to playing around, and everybody has so much hype about the DR60, but they're, $3,000 to $4,000. So I started looking at that same era when that one was made, and Sony had one out at the same time. So I picked a couple of those up for like 20 and $25 off eBay. And they work amazing, but they're so noisy.
Mhm.
But when they do pick something up, it's incredible because you're like, holy crap, everything else sounds like shit. And here's this voice.
Right.
So,
Right. Yeah,
but
I
go ahead.
totally get that. I totally get that. Now if chat just kind of explodes, fair warning. Sometimes Twitch hangs up with the chat and then it just all of a sudden it just wham. So
Yeah,
that's why
that's
there's only
fine.
two comments on there, and I'm like waiting for it to just slam me. There we
Yeah,
are.
that's a good point, Lori. And we've seen that. I've had brand new batteries and recorders, and in 5 minutes' time, I'll watch them go dead and shut off.
Yeah.
I even have a recording, and so I've got a 4 terabyte backup drive that I transfer everything to, and eventually it all just ends up as this big mess of recordings stored on there. But there is one that says, turn that off. And then you hear what sounds like somebody manipulating the recorder, and it stopped. And I'm like,
That's
all right, so who the hell just told them to turn it off? So it doesn't matter. They don't have to drain it. They'll just turn the damn thing off.
right. Right. I mean, that's the same thing with flashlights. I mean, turn them on and off, and um, lights in a room, turn them on and off. I mean, it's fascinating what they can do at some point.
Yeah. Now, speaking of what they can do, the video that I sent you.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so my team does a lot of charity events. That's what we're mainly focused on doing. Locations that need funding, like virtually any of your historic parks or a historic location needs funding. So Pamplin Historical Park is a privately owned park. It's 424 acres of battlefield from the Civil War. They have a main museum, uh, several outbuildings. Then they have a place called Tudor Hall, which was the Boyceau family home. Now, the
Mm-hmm.
Boyceau family was kicked out of it during the Civil War. The Confederates came in and took it over as their headquarters. Now, we know that the Boyceau family had 6 children, and 4 of them did not make it to adulthood. So we know 2 died in the house, but we don't know about the other 2 that didn't make it to adulthood. They may or may not have died in the house. We can't find documentation on them. We just know they didn't survive to adulthood. So during our last public investigation, that's a fundraiser, we one of our guests set a stress ball, the little latex sand filled ball on the
Mm-hmm.
steps. So when you set it down, it forms kind of a flat surface on the bottom. It doesn't roll easily. The steps are
Right.
level, they're not all canted and sloped. And 3 different times that night, that ball was rolled and knocked all the way down the steps.
Do you want me to play that video?
You can play it now, play it later. It's completely your choice. It's your show, sir.
Let's try and get this up and going. Don't mind me if you see my phone because I'm trying to find the damn thing. Let's see here. Is that the one I'm looking for? I think it is. No, let's try it. Oh, what the heck here? Apparently it won't play for me. Yep, there's me. And I said you're dealing with a blind guy here, so
Welcome to technology.
yeah,
Now you watch a little bit later, it's going to kick up and start playing, and all of a sudden we're going to be like, "What the hell?"
right. Or you get a phone call.
I'm
Well,
good with that too.
we'll play it later and see if it pops up. But anyhow, geez, somebody from Illinois trying to call me.
Ah, they just want to check up on your car's extended warranty.
Yeah, that too.
Hey, Ryan. I'm assuming that's Ryan on the crop page.
What the heck? It keeps calling me.
I'm not in Illinois, brother, so it isn't me.
Oh, it's Juliet, Illinois.
Maybe it's Joliet Prison. They're waiting
Uh,
on you to come back.
Give me a quick second here.
So while he takes that brief phone call, I'll try to entertain those of you that are still on the feed. So, like I said, my name's Dennis Estlock. I'm the founder of Commonwealth Researchers of the Paranormal. I'm not sure what he's doing.
This is the call I'm getting.
Are they talking to you or talking to me?
I don't know, talking through me.
Nice. Somebody's an asshole. I would put that phone number on blast.
Well, it sounds like they're coming from the Juliet prison, which is like, why you call me from the prison?
Yeah.
It did it 4 times. It called me.
Bizarre.
Same number.
Bizarre.
Yeah.
So have you made somebody mad at Joliet prison?
I have no idea.
Have you ever investigated there?
Nope. I watch shows. They're there.
See, and that brings up an interesting point. Prior to me ever having been to Ohio State Reformatory, I had friends that went there and investigated. So the group that they're in was asking them, so where all have you been? Where's your favorite place? And they just happen to say, our favorite place is back home in Virginia. It's the cabin on 360. And one of the other people they were talking to says, hey, doesn't Dennis Estlock run that place? And at that moment, they captured an EVP says he's an asshole.
Oh, jeez.
I had never been to OSR at that point.
Wow.
And so when they came back, about 2 months later, they came and joined us at an investigation at the cabin. And, I told Chris, and offhand, I can't remember his son's name. Gosh, I feel bad. But I told him, hey, welcome back. It's, I'm glad to see you again. They're like, yeah, we just wanted to come back and investigate with friends that are famous. I went, yeah, who's that? And they went, well, you are. And then they told me the story. And I'm like, bro, I've never been to OSR. So it makes me
Interesting.
wonder what the communication system is among spirit that they're able to do that.
Can you see that? That's where I'm getting a call from now.
Mansfield, Ohio,
Yeah.
home of Mansfield, Ohio State Reformatory.
Yeah. 2
All right,
times in a row.
All right, you need to answer that one. I want to hear that one.
What is going on?
This is bizarre.
Hello?
I'll talk about anything I want.
Something followed him home, and we are always watching. You should have talked about that.
I'll talk about Ohio State Reformatory all I want. You make all the calls you want. You don't bother me, jackass.
Listen to me, boy. You little pretty girl in the bed. I'm gonna fuck him in the mouth with my double dick. I'm gonna turn on his little bed and put my giant cock in his mouth so he can slurp on the cock.
All right, enough of that shit.
It'd be so much better if he'd get rid of the voice changer, or if he'd buy a decent one that we could actually understand him. You gotta love kids.
I've never had phone calls like that before.
Yeah, that would be.
It's actually making
part
my
of my
heart.
fan club.
Huh?
That would be part of my fan club, I guess. So one thing I've come to find out in this field is you're obviously doing something right
Mm-hmm.
when you've made some enemies. Yeah, hey Brandon, how are you, buddy? You missed me talking about you guys.
Now I got someone else call me from San Diego.
Yeah, I've never been to San Diego.
I think it's San Diego.
No, that's Keystone, South Dakota.
Oh, well, I don't know what that's
I've
for.
never been to South Dakota either. Yeah, apparently, Brandon, I've made friends already. Hey, I got a good one. Let's try this. So I went with Brandon, went with the Twisted Crew, Haunted Nights Paranormal Events. We went to Mopin, Missouri State Penitentiary. That was an awesome place. Let's see if we can get this jackass to call us from Missouri State Penitentiary. So far, you've managed to pick 2 places that I've talked about, and you called from there. So now, jackass, let's see if you can call us from Missouri.
This is freaking nuts.
I have.
My heart is actually going a little bit here.
I think it's funny. I've obviously made somebody angry in this field. I don't know if I'm doing something right or doing something wrong. But if people are going to take time to make calls like that during an interview that I'm on, doing a podcast, and they want to take their time to make these calls, hell, let them go it. Yeah, you're right, Brandon. Is that one from Missouri?
Doesn't say.
It's an 866 number.
So it must be. I'm thinking that's a credit card number.
Ain't that the damn truth, Brandon? So Brandon was with me. We were at St. Albans Sanatorium, and this was actually one of Ryan's Vibe Radio Network events. We were assigned to alcohol recovery ward, and the volunteers bring the groups through. The first group comes in. I introduce the equipment that we have. These are the K2s. These are what they do. Blah blah blah. And I said, I think the first thing we'll do is I'll just take a knee here right in front of the whole group, and we'll run an EVP session.
Jesus.
I start the recording. I said, we're in alcohol recovery, and straight off the bat, I get a fuck you. Just plain as day on the recording. And of course, the whole group thought that was crazy. I'm like, Brandon, what do you think? Pretty much
Jesus
the norm.
This is the 7th time the same number has called me.
Yeah, Ryan's got a good idea there with the Commonwealth researchers page. I wonder if he can call from Mechanicsville.
Hold on a second. This is my wife. Hold on.
Oh. So for those that are just tuning in, I've mentioned a couple of different locations, and all of a sudden, Darren starts getting phone calls from those location states. I mentioned Ohio State Reformatory. He got a phone call from Mansfield. It's somebody using a voice changer, and they're making threatening and rude comments, telling me not to talk about Ohio State Reformatory, blah, blah, blah. Prior to that, let's see, what was the other one? Joliet. Well, you got the first call from Joliet Prison, which I hadn't even spoken about because I've never been there. But he keeps getting strange phone calls. So here's one thing that you'll come to find out in this field, folks. If you're doing something right and you're making a name for yourself and you're showing integrity, there's always going to be those that crawl out from under a rock and try to take you off your feet. Keep your chin up and rise above.
So
everything good?
That wasn't my wife.
Okay.
Somebody has my phone number and was saying that he's got my wife and all this crap.
All right, so somebody spoofed your wife's phone number.
Yeah.
So that's simply an app. Yeah, and Carmen, you're right. They're trolls. So somebody knows your wife's phone number and just spoofed her phone number to call you from what looks like her phone number.
What in the hell?
Somebody doesn't want me to have airtime, and it's fine. Let the trolls troll.
Sorry, it's throwing me off. It's kind of ticking me off. So I'm just gonna send out a message here right now. For whoever is calling my phone, that's enough. You can stop. Okay, I can have a guest on whoever I choose to have on, so you can just buzz off.
Yeah.
All right.
I think so. The Facebook Messenger I just got was, "You want to play a game?"
I just think that's ridiculous. People gotta be stupid like that to make phone calls. I mean, it's like, dude.
And obviously they're one nut wonder, or they wouldn't use the voice changer and they would speak to us. Or
Right.
they would come right out and say, "Hey, this is so-and-so. I don't like Dennis."
Yeah. I mean, that's just, I've never, ever in my life had this problem doing a podcast. I wish I could block it, but they're calling me on all sorts of different numbers.
Yeah, that's part of the problem, Carmen. With apps, you can spoof a phone number. Like I could call you from your own phone number. It will look like your own phone number anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and yeah, Daniel, he aired a portion of it. Um, I'm getting messages now regarding the phone calls, but he aired part of it, and it's just somebody with a voice changer.
Right.
But yeah, don't let it bother you, brother. Make sure your wife's okay, and next time they
She's
call, tell them to just go pound sand up their ass.
yeah, she's on her way back home anyways. So, yeah, bunch of nutcases. All right. So, I forgot all about my questions. I had all these questions for you.
And
So
that's why they did this, was just to throw you off.
yeah. So what is the paranormal to you personally?
I don't want to say it's an obsession. It's more like a passion. And as I've said many times speaking at events and so forth, I want to know what to look forward to when this meat suit dies. The energy and the essence that is me.
Mm-hmm.
Where does that go? What do I have to look forward to? Um, my first interaction with spirit, I was 7 years old. My grandfather stood eye to eye on my top bunk, told me goodbye, told me he loved me and he'd see me later. They lived a couple of hours away. So I mean, he was so solid and real looking. I thought they had come to visit. And I was confused why he's waking me up to tell me goodbye. He loved me and he'd see me later. But, oh, okay, Granddaddy, I guess I'll see you in the morning when we get up. Good night.
Mm-hmm.
A couple hours later, mom came in, turned on the light. I had a brother that slept bottom bunk. I had top. Um, she turned on the light, told us we had to get up and get our asses dressed. We had to leave. And I asked, is this because Granddaddy went away? When did they even come up? And she's like, what? I said, well, Granddaddy was right here just a little while ago, woke me up, told me goodbye. He loved me and he'd see me later. When did they come? She's like, you just need to get your ass out of bed, get dressed. He had had a massive heart attack a couple hours earlier and passed.
Oh, jeez.
But, I am convinced that he was standing there.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I was 16, my brother was 4 years older than me, so he was 20. I'm on my way to the corner grocery to buy a pack of cigarettes. And anybody that has siblings knows their energy when they come up behind you, whether they're trying to sneak up on you or what. I felt his energy. I knew he was right there, and I heard his voice tell me, goodbye, brother. I love you, and I'll always have your back.
Right.
I'm looking around. I'm like, where the hell are you? I thought he was being smartass. 9 o'clock that night, the police knocked at the door to tell us that my brother had been found hanging in a tree at a trail going to one of the reservoirs in town. He had taken his own life about noon, which was right at the time that I know he was right with me.
Mm-hmm.
So, that definitely got my attention. Now, between those two incidents where I interacted with spirit, I had two cousins that were, so Fred's 3 months older than me and Ronnie's 2 years older than me. And I was somewhere in the 10 to 12 range. I don't remember exactly how old, but I had, so back in the day, we called him a ghetto blaster. It was that great big stereo, took a case of D-cell batteries and you walk sideways because it weighs so damn much. But we had heard if you put a recorder out in the cemetery, you could capture the voices of spirit. And we're like, man, that'd be kind of cool. Well, they had a huge cemetery just a couple of blocks from their house. So we went over there at 10:30 at night, set the recorder out in the cemetery and walked away from it a few 100 feet. We captured somebody whistling a tune. And, we stayed where we could see my stereo, the boom box.
Mm-hmm.
So I know nobody was near it. Well, their father was a musician. So when we played it back and we hear the song being whistled, we played it for Uncle Ron and asked him, "Hey, what is this? Do you know it?" And he said, "Yeah, it's a song from the '40s. Why? Which one of you did that?" None of us. We didn't know the song, but it was a song from the 1940s that somebody was whistling to in the cemetery. And I'm like, all right, there's definitely something to this after death.
Right.
So that set me on the quest that I've been on pretty much ever since. I want to know, what can I look forward to? What's the next step? Can I come back and screw with all my friends that have ADHD and tilt all the pictures in their house a little bit?
Right.
So it's been quite an adventure. I've got to meet great people like Ryan that I'm partnered with at the Cabin on 360. Brandon Johnson, Gene Wells. There's like a brother to me. He's another one of my team members. Masonic brother as well. So I've met some fantastic people through the field, and I've got some great answers to what's next, but I don't have the answers. I
Right.
don't think any of us ever will until we buy that ticket and go on that side.
Sorry.
You're all right.
Yeah,
You
no,
getting
they're
text
just
now?
now they're just using my number with minusing like a lower digit.
Yeah, well, you might want to shoot your wife a text and give her a heads up in case they call her or text her.
Yeah. Give me a second to pause here. I'm gonna run upstairs real quick. I'm here by myself, so I don't need some jackass coming down here and trying to do something, whatever. Anyhow, I'll be right back. We'll be back with questions. We got plenty of time, so.
And I'll monitor the chat. So if you have questions, feel free to put them in the chat. I'll catch the question and I'll throw an answer to you.
Awesome.
You go take
Thank
care
you.
of what you need to do, Darren.
I'll be right back.
So I'm going to throw a question up to you guys that are watching and listening to this, if you can, in the chat. What is your interest in the paranormal? What got you started in it? See, here's the nice thing about a podcast. It can go both ways. You can ask me questions. I can ask you questions. And I know Gene's answer to it is he had activity in his house. So he called us in, asked us to come help him with the activity in his house. That led to us becoming great friends, more like family at this point. And Cameron, yeah, it's, I don't know who would be pulling bullshit like that, the fake phone calls and so forth, but I can understand his stress at this point. Or Carmen, I'm sorry, I didn't have my glasses adjusted. Haldeman Mansion got the cobweb effect, something brushing my bottom leg. That's pretty cool. I did Haldeman Mansion too, and that was a really cool place. We actually set up in the backyard by the railroad tracks, and I had 3 guests with me. I played YouTube video flute music because there's supposed to be a lot of native activity through the area. So I played flute music for, I don't know, 10 seconds, and then I stopped the music. And we heard the continuation in the little wooded section off to the side for probably another 5 to 8 seconds, and then it stopped. And I announced when I stopped, and they're like, "Well, I thought you stopped." And I went, "Yeah, I did. That wasn't my phone playing. That was live." So you work in a haunted museum, have different things happening. That would be cool. I'm definitely jealous of that. My team, Ryan and Gene and myself, and coming up will be Jason's going to get to experience it. We work with a lot of museums as well, and they're just fascinating, and it makes you wonder how much stuff in there can have activity attached to it. And or is it that a spirit came with it? Hey, that was my grandmother's punch bowl or whatever. So it's definitely cool. I'd love to be able to work in a museum more than I do. Enjoy the history and learning the stories behind the hauntings. That's what got me into it at first. And I'm assuming, well, it has to be Ryan operating the Commonwealth Researchers Paranormal page. You know, the stories behind hauntings and the history of locations, I absolutely love that. I watch most of today's shows just to get the history on a location and see what has transpired there and see what the history is. Um, Now you hear disembodied voices. Let's see. So now, Carmen, did you not hear disembodied voices before your visit to Haldeman Mansion? And that was something that just started? You get the static charges for energy presences. So did you have that before, or it just started going? That would be an interesting point to figure out. Um, Ed Gein and his mom visited the museum you worked at, Lori, or work at, Lori. That's definitely creepy. Um, yeah, Gene says especially weapons in a museum, lots of energy attached to them. Yeah, and it makes you wonder what, um, what has that weapon seen? What's it been through? Does it have, you know, lives in its history? If a weapon is used to take a life, can that life or that energy attach itself to that weapon? So you didn't. So, all right. So Carmen didn't have any of these gifts or abilities before Haldeman Mansion, but she developed them after. Now, do you think you had them then? You just didn't recognize them, or it was something that 2 years later you started to realize? That would be the curious. Oh, Lori, I got it. I got it. They didn't visit. Ed Gein was actually in that museum. So it's a jail and museum. Okay. Yeah. And see, it makes me wonder, could he have left energy in that prison or in that jail? So the cabin on 360 that Ryan and I run here in Mechanicsville, Virginia, um, in 1979, there was a young man that he was 17 and raped and murdered his 12-year-old half sister. He was sentenced to life. So the question that we have wavered on many times is, as he's in his little cell serving his life sentence, could his energy come back to that location? And, could we potentially interact with him at that location? I kind of blew up your chat, brother. I started asking them questions.
That's okay.
Everything good though?
Well, they're actually calling her phone number now, and making it look like I'm calling them.
Yeah, so it's somebody that knows you. Otherwise, they would be calling me and giving me shit. So it's someone that knows you and either doesn't like me or doesn't like you, or just somebody wants to be a dick.
I don't know what's going on here, so I think we're gonna have to until this thing blows over. I think we're gonna have to end this short tonight, and
that's exactly what they want. But it's your call, brother. I get it if you choose to end it.
Well, I just never had this happen to me before.
See, and this is what I was saying, and I think Lori is the one that pointed it out earlier. Just trolls. You know, Brandon pointed out making friends already, Dennis. Yeah, I have made some less than favorable connections in this field simply because I will call out bullshit artists. I don't tolerate that. I hold my virtues and everything to a much higher level than a lot of people in this field will. They will throw their integrity away to get ahead, and I absolutely refuse to do it. And Jay saying don't end it. Carmen says it's what we deal with in the paranormal field. Unfortunately, there's a lot of trolls. So, like I said, brother, it's completely your choice.
Well, the thing is that they're actually calling my wife, saying it's
Yeah.
me and uh
Hi, Ron.
and Ron's in the house. Hey, Ron. Um, but as far as people, I really don't have. There's a couple people that I don't agree with, but I don't have any arguments with anybody in the paranormal field.
Yeah, and I don't have arguments with them anymore. I just forget their existence. Now,
So, we'll keep going for a little bit here, and then if it just keeps getting chaotic, then we'll have to try another time. But
and like I said, brother, that's exactly what they want. So it's your show. You do it the way you want. If you want to end it, we'll end.
um,
No hard feelings. I understand. Family first, always.
yeah, I was just like, I just didn't get what. I mean, like I said, it's like I'm not doing anything wrong. I just mind my own business, as what we do as paranormal investigators and stuff like that. And if like I don't
Exactly.
have I don't have a problem if you have a beef with me, or if you want to talk something out that you just don't like what I do. I mean, we're here to agree to disagree. There's no right way or wrong way to do the paranormal field. Um, which I would say, um, like, how do you feel about provoking?
That depends. The only time I provoke is, well, I have a simple philosophy. If you are an asshole in life, you're going to be an asshole in death. And
Hmm.
if you're an asshole in death and you are attacking investigators, attacking my team, attacking guests, I will provoke you. I will come after you. And I do the same exact thing in life. I spent 15 years bouncing nightclubs. I'm not the one to back down. I
Right.
don't back down. I refuse to. So if spirit wants to be the aggressor, then I will go after that. My team can vouch for me that, you know, I don't back down. I don't run from anything. Um,
Hmm.
I've suffered ill from it. I've had bad luck on things that I think spirit may have had a hand in, um, but I still won't back down. So because of what I do, house blessings, cleansings, um, also a medium and a remote viewer, that's been validated many times over.
Hmm.
Um, spirit has an open phone line to me. So I've been blessed in 5 different religions and 3 different beliefs. And I can look back on my spirituality and I can look back on my faith and I can lean on my faith and know that no matter what spirit is there, I'm going to be okay. Now, that
Right.
doesn't mean they can't screw with me. I mentioned, um, well, actually, I don't think I've mentioned it yet. Moundsville State Penitentiary, West Virginia. I was standing alone in the front of one of the main cell blocks and in the dark. And I happened to see a light off to my far right side. So I turned to look and I felt just a light touch on my cheek. And I turned to see what it was. Like I said, I bounced 15 years. I've been hit in the face many times. And
Right.
I felt that electric jolt go up the side of my head. And I knew I had just been punched in the jaw. And I'm standing there holding a recorder. And I turned and looked and I said, which one of you sons of bitches punched me in the jaw? And all I got was a voice that says, you bastard.
Yeah.
So, but I didn't back down. I didn't run. It's just going to be what it is.
Hmm.
Mediums seem to be the highest number that attempt to run me out this because they think I'm attempting to be a medium. I'm not a medium. Just to add, I can remote view. I've backed off that for a few months. Well, so doing remote views, there's a couple of different, and this makes it very difficult. I've had people ask me, all right, so remote view, isn't that the same thing as astral projection? I don't know. I don't
Hmm.
truly know what I don't think I astral project. Maybe I do when I can see a different location that I've never been to.
Right.
So maybe it is astral projection. but at the same time, it's remote viewing because I'm able to see everything and interact with spirit there. So, but if you are quote unquote attempting to be a medium, or they think you are, but you're not trying to be. Look, if you're trying to be a rapper, they're going to run you off the stage if you can't rap worth shit.
Right.
If you're trying to be this or that, there's always going to be people that are going to try to run you out because that's my niche.
Mhm.
Man, I don't give a shit. If you show up at my location and you're trying to, or you earnestly believe that you are able to see or connect with spirit, all right, fantastic. I'm not going to run you out because I can't validate what you're saying. And I
Mhm.
actually know remote viewing is not looking into the future because I can look into locations of the past. The one that stands out most to me, and Ryan can validate this because he's the one that I actually did it for before he and I teamed up. He was with another team called All Seeing Paranormal Society. And Ryan's family had a friend that owned a plantation, Belnemus. Beautiful location. They messaged me, then called me and asked if I could look in on the place and see what I got. And I gave them a full walkthrough of the location, but I could see it as it was at Civil War era. Now, this was a plantation home, Civil War era. It had the cellar doors on the side of the house that you would open up and walk down to the basement, but they're no longer there. Well, then we found old photographs that show those cellar doors.
Mhm.
So, I was looking at it in, 150 years ago or whatever. You direct your view into the past. I've not had reason to do that. So, supposedly in remote viewing, which I haven't done this yet, yes, you're capable, supposed to be, supposedly anyway, able to see future end locations. There's, and I mean, hypothetically, you should be able to look at places like Mars on a remote view. Um, there was a project that the United States government, under the uh, tutelage and command of Lieutenant Colonel Ed Dames,
Mhm.
it was called Project Stargate. And it was all about remote viewing. And they brought in remote viewers, and they were trying to look at. This was during the Cold War, so they're trying to look at Russia and see what the assets are and what they have and everything. And remote viewing and Project Stargate is how we actually found out about mobile ICBM launch sites, the trailered intercontinental ballistic missiles, because one of them drew out one, and then they started looking into it. Take care, Jason. It was good seeing you, brother, and I'll look forward to seeing you on our next investigation. Um, let's see. Where did her question go? Carmen, how do spirits connect with you, Dennis? Like, do you see images or do you hear them talking to you? Both. From time to time, I see like a slideshow.
Mhm.
From time to time, I can hear them just as you and I are talking right now. And at other times, I don't hear, but I can see, like I'm literally there. When I did Belnemus, for prime example, I had a gentleman named Washington. I don't know who he was, but I want to say that he was like the head house servant, or
Mhm.
the head slave. But he gave me a tour, literally, of the property. Um, Told me his name, gave me a tour of the property, showed me where the carriage house was, showed me where the ice house was, um, led me down into the basement through the cellar doors that are no longer there, introduced me to, I think it was like 3 or 4 different spirits that they had already investigated previously and captured them in that area that I explained to them on recordings. But that one wasn't just slideshow or images. That was literally like he was walking me through the location. It was really cool. Yeah, the remote view I did in South Dakota. You're not going to let me live that one down, are you, Ryan? That was definitely an interesting one. I need to have some connection or interest in that future event. Otherwise, I can just project into a location of a future event. Then again, I backed off because I cannot alter the future any more than you could alter the future. Well, that's true. I think, all right, so I mentioned that I'm blessed in 5 religions. One of them is um, Hindu. And the Hindu religion, when you die, you ascend to the gods. They tell you what you did right and what you did wrong or fell short of in your life cycle, and then you're recycled to do it again until you get it all right. Unless you have a desire to stay earthbound in your present, so to speak, lifetime, then, let's say I die. I get to come back until such time as that wish that I've asked for is completed. I want to watch my kids graduate high school or get married or see my first grandchild, whatever. But I'm told that I am not to alter. I can't interact with the living at all. I am to stay in the background and not be heard, not be seen. And if you break that part, then in the Hindu religion, then you're immediately brought back to the gods, and then you're recycled to lead your next life cycle. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely interesting. And as for, I need to have some connection or interest in that future event or that past event. Any past event or location I've got an interest in because history just fascinates the snot out of me. So for me, that's always an easy one. Future events, I haven't been brought up to that one yet.
Like
It
deja
hasn't
vu
been
and
presented. Now, deja vu is that's a weird one because that's the feeling I've been here, had this conversation before, and you know exactly how that conversation goes. So that would be a past event, I would think, but that is a very weird one. I don't understand deja vu myself, so it
what
is
about
interesting.
premonitions? Do you see premonitions like 6 months, year down the lines, like type of deal?
I've got friends that talk about them and they journal them. I do not. Um, like most of my dreams, I don't remember.
Hmm.
So, um, and if I do have dreams that I remember, usually they're of a location. It's more like a visit from that location or spirit at that location. It's not a premonition of upcoming. It's just like that location or the spirits there are visiting me and it wakes me up.
Hmm.
So there was a period of time where I had no control. I couldn't stop them. I couldn't cancel out the voices. I couldn't shield myself. I had no way. I didn't understand how to protect myself. So they
Right.
would literally get me at all hours, day and night. And it got overwhelming. And I literally thought about seeking counseling because I thought I was starting to have a mental breakdown. And then I spoke
I
to,
would.
oh, yeah. I mean, look, when you walk in, you've seen the TV show Long Island Medium. She walks into a
Mm,
store and she looks over and sees a spirit.
mm-mm.
I've had that. Um,
Okay.
but you always have to look and go, is that one real? Oh shit, no, that's a spirit. Please don't let them know I see them. Ultimately, they know anyway.
Right.
Um,
Right.
but they'll, like I said, the friends that I do have that have premonitions, they journal them, and then they can look back. Sad, and yes, that was my issue as well. But yeah, once I was taught how to shield,
Hmm.
um, then I was able to selectively let spirit in to talk to me. Um, then it wasn't so overwhelming. It's like standing on the 50-yard line in a football stadium and the stands are full and everybody's talking to you at one time. You can't hear anything, it's all just noise. And it was constant. I could not visit a friend in a hospital. Um, good night, Carmen. Thanks for tuning in.
Thanks, Carmen. Thanks for
Um,
putting up with my BS tonight.
hey, you didn't start that shit. Hey, Christopher, welcome aboard.
Hey,
Uh,
nice to see you.
but and then I was taught how to shield, and it made it so much more bearable. Hi, Michelle, welcome aboard.
Hey, Michelle.
But if it was a crucial, and I think we've all had that moment where our light turns green and something in the back of your head says, just wait a moment. And then there goes old Billy Bob dumbass shooting through the red.
Right.
That little voice in the back of your head that tells you, just wait a moment. Imagine having, 10 of those at any given moment. And that's what it was like for a while until I learned to shield and calm them down.
Mm-hmm.
But for the most part, it was a matter of telling them, look, I can't talk to all of you at once. Some of you just have to shut the hell up. Give me a break.
It's like a spirit box session.
Yeah, it's going and going and going and going. And you're like, all right, look, one at a time, talk to me on the spirit box, talk to me on this device, and then we can work with you.
Mm-hmm.
And it was kind of the same way in my head. But like I said, I thought I was actually starting to have a mental breakdown because I'm hearing all of this shit. And then it dawned on me, if I talk to myself, I don't hear it in other voices. And I'm damn sure not female. I can't make it sound female, but I'm hearing females talking. Well, if you tell yourself right now, all right, when I go to the grocery, I need bread, milk, and eggs. Whose voice do you hear that in? Well, I would hear everybody else, but I wouldn't hear my own voice. So it was a huge learning curve to understand what the hell was happening.
Mm-hmm.
But once I was able to shield, get them to calm down, it was so much more manageable. Then I was able to give good information to the living that were seeking closure or whatever.
Right.
Then the dead were more satisfied that I was able to help them.
Wow. Very interesting. So what is the holy grail of the paranormal to you personally? And if you catch the holy grail of what you're looking for, do you stop right away or you keep going forward to find that new holy grail?
Well, I've already experienced the holy grail. I think all of us will agree that, I think for the biggest majority of us in this anyway, a full-bodied apparition that you can describe is most everybody's holy grail in this field. I didn't capture it, but I witnessed it. And at this point, I've witnessed it several times. So there's the most striking one that stands out to me. There's a location here right outside Richmond called Henricus Historical Park. So Jamestown settled in 1607. Henricus was settled in 1611. And now it's a living museum. So they have a dividing wall down the middle that's huge stockade. This side is English. This side is like the set of the natives had. And we were doing a fundraiser for them overnight. We've got 50 guests. End of the night, it's like 5:30, 5:45 in the morning. And I'm sitting at the fire pit with their native interpreter, their employee. And I looked over at him and he's got just this awestruck look on his face. And I'm like, what the hell are you looking at? And now I've got the same awestruck look. 50 to 75 feet away from us, going across a tree line that intersects into a transverse tree line. We watched 5 full-dress native warriors walk across and just fade out into the tree line.
Mm-hmm.
That's the holy grail. And of course, everybody's like, did you get a picture? Did you take video? And I'm like, I couldn't get my jaw off the damn ground. So
Right.
no, I didn't get shit. But both of us saw the same exact thing and we were able to describe it. If I ever do capture one on video, I'm still going to investigate. I'm still going to try to capture, simply because nobody I don't give a rat's ass how good your video evidence is, how good your audio evidence is. You're never going to convince the naysayers that this is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
So, if you go back and look at my Facebook page, you don't see a whole lot of evidence posted. I've got a couple of pieces here and there, but I don't post it. And when I do, I leave it, what do you think? And I let
Right.
them draw their own conclusion. If they want to say it's this or it's that, that's everything about this field is interpretive. There is nothing set in stone other than the fact that there is nothing set in stone.
Right.
I don't think they can tell us what the other side is like. I think there's kind of like an unwritten rule that they can't tell us what that side is like. So years ago, I got invited out to Chicago to speak at Chicago Ghost Con. Ursula Bielski used to put on a wonderful conference.
Mm-hmm.
But I got to listen to Chris Fleming's presentation. And I think he said it so. I think the way he said part of his presentation was talking about his near-death experience. And part of the way that he described it, I think, is perfectly understandable as to why we're not supposed to know the answers of, hey, what's it like on that side? He said that when he was in the hospital and on the table, he was hovering at the top corner of the room, could see the doctors and nurses, could hear everything going on, and was watching them work on his body. And then he had a favorite female actress from like the 1940s that said, hey, you need to come with me. And he said, you would think when we went to ground level and went out that door that we would just be in the rest of the hospital. But no, this was the greenest pasture I've ever seen. The way that the grass waved in the breeze, I could feel the breeze on the grass as though I was the grass. I could feel the bumblebee settle onto the flower as though I was the flower. He's like, it was the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. And I turned and looked at her and said, is this heaven? And she said, no, Chris, this is my heaven. Yours might be 1,000 times more beautiful than this, but you're not ready and I have to take you back. He said, the next thing I remember is the most painful thing I've ever felt, and that's when they hit me with the paddles and brought me back. But
Yeah.
I think if we all experienced that moment, how many would exercise free will and choose to go to that side prematurely?
All right. We're gonna have to put a cap on this because they're text messaging me now and saying that they're at my door and all this crap.
Do you
Someone's
have
at my door.
firearms?
Huh?
Is somebody at your door?
They're saying they are texting, say, oh, I got this, I got that, and I don't know what's going on. So I'm getting these stupid phone calls again. So
Yeah, I am sorry they have chosen to screw with you, brother.
it's I don't know. This is interesting, but sorry folks for the inconvenience tonight of tonight's show, and I'm gonna have to have you back on at some point again, just to hopefully nothing else goes on after this, and maybe somebody just wants to screw with me tonight and got my phone number off of Facebook or whatever. But yeah, this ain't cool. So
Nope, definitely not.
so with that, I thank you all for joining us tonight. Like I said, I'm very sorry to stop a little bit abruptly here, but this is just going beyond where it should be. So once again, thanks for you all tuning in. Remember, watch the Paranormal Brew, BB3 TV Networks, us on YouTube as well, and Twitch. So with that, y'all have a good night, and I will see you soon.
Yeah. Forward those messages to the local authorities and let them track them.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to do something because
even with the spoofed phone numbers, they can still be tracked. So let the authorities handle it.
So, all right, everybody. So long and have a good night.
Good night, Darren. Thanks for having me on.
Right.
Thank you, everybody, for listening in.